and welcome back to our Flash series. We're in chapter 3, getting used to shapes in Flash. And we are on our last video for this chapter. So we're going to be making a goldfish part 5. We're going to be modifying some text and we're going to be adding bubbles in our fish picture. So let me show you how we do that. Let's focus on the text to start with. So I'm going to get my zoom tool, and once I've got my zoom tool, I'm just going to focus in a bit and go to work. Okay, so what I want to do is get my text tool, and I'm going to put an exclamation mark at the end. So that's the first thing, nice and straightforward. The next thing I want to do is to think a little bit more about my font. So if I just select it instead of having that, and I can go to character. So I think a better font would be Arial Black. So let's try that. And I'm not really particularly happy that it's all on one line. I would very much like to have go on top and fish underneath. So this is where I do need my text tool, and I click between the words and press return. Now you can see that there really is quite a big gap between the word go and fish. So I need to go back to my selection tool. If I close up character, and I'm going to go and open up paragraph. And it's this one I need, where I can simply reduce the line spacing. There we go. Selection tool can just do that. So we're making progress with it, but I'd actually like to do a little bit more and put in a drop shadow. So to do that, I go to filters. So here we are, filters is open. And I want to add a filter. So there's that little icon here, the first one in this section. I'm going to click and I'm going to use a drop shadow. Now there are 3 values that interest me. That's strength, angle and distance. I want to reduce the strength down quite a bit so it really is quite faint. The angle, you can play with the angle where you'd like it. I think that'll do fine. And you can play with the distance. So this is what distance is. And we can play with that as well. And you fit it in as to your preference. That can be for me. Once I've done that, I will reduce, will come out, use the hand tool, and we are there with our text. Now the next thing I want to do is to create some bubbles from this fish, and we used linear gradient in a previous video. In this one we're going to be using radial. Now before we get started and looking into this, let's just do a little bit of work on here. I want you to make the stroke white. Okay, so we're going to have white bubbles, and we're going to be fixing the fill over here. So we really want 2 tags, not 3. So I'm going to drag that one off and put this one to the end and this one to the end. And I want to make this one white. So I'm going to double click and make it white. So it's all white at the moment, but we will do some working out in a minute. So let's go and draw our bubble. Now you want a perfect bubble, so hold the shift button down and draw. Okay. Now, this is alpha. This talks about transparency. So there's no transparency at the moment, it's at 100%. I'm going to bring it all the way down to 100. And we get this effect. Now you can play with these tabs, they can actually overlap. So you might be happy with that, but let's just say, for example, we want to do it this way. And you will get that effect. I prefer this myself, so I'm going to stick with it. Now I don't want to really do the whole thing over again. So I'm just going to go and copy. So I've got my selection tool. I'm going to hold my Option button down, or the Alt button. So that key is held down. And I'm going to hold the left button down on my mouse. And I'm going to drag. And that does a copy. So let's just say this is the first bubble, which I'm going to make quite small. This is my second bubble, which I'm going to reduce a little bit, and I'm going to put that here. And then I've got a third bubble. So let me do the same again. I'm going to copy this one, hold the Alt button down and drag. And I'm going to make that a little bigger. And there we have our fish. So we've gone and put in all of the information. Go fish, we've put in a drop down shadow. We've put it on 2 lines. And then with our bubbles here, we've had it as a radial. And we've put them both white, but we've played around with moving these around and making our alpha 0. You might want to play with this idea more and see if you can create a lighter radial shadow just above the fish. And you might want to have the fish at an angle as if it's going up out of the water. So you can use the transform tool for that. So there's lots of different things that you can do to, yes, improve the picture. So thank you very much for watching this chapter. We've had a good look as to how to create shapes, how to manipulate shapes, and how to change the look of text as well. And you're going to find that really useful as you start to build your own pictures, which you will eventually animate. So make sure you've got a good understanding of how to use shapes. And in the next chapter, I'm going to talk to you about symbols. So thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.